Hello and welcome to our webinar on the essential engineering works which TransLink are taking forward through the Lisburn Area Renewals project. Joining me today is Craig Jones, who is a project manager with TransLink, Graham Curry, who is a project manager with the contractor Babcock, and Mark Glover, who is a station supervisor with TransLink. You will hear from each of the panelists during the webinar. By way of introduction, I want to give some key stats which demonstrate the important role which TransLink carries out every day across Northern Ireland. TransLink currently has around 13,000 services in operation on a daily basis, and to keep this level of service operational, this involves maintaining 1,400 buses and trains which cover around 44 million miles every year. The network includes over 80 bus and rail stations, as well as 8,000 park and ride spaces which are operating very successfully throughout Northern Ireland. TransLink also looks after over 300 miles of railway track and over 1,600 civil structures such as bridges and level crossings. In light of this, ongoing maintenance of the track and associated infrastructure are vital to maintain high safety standards and operational performance. The Department for Infrastructure are investing in significant projects across the network, and this includes the new Belfast Grand Central project, which is the redevelopment of the Great Victoria Street railway station and surrounding area known as Weaver's Cross, the development of the New York Gate station to provide a new modern facility, and the glider, which has been operating since 2018, connecting East and West Belfast, with Phase 2 also planned to link North and South Belfast. Investment in the public transport network, such as the projects I have mentioned, is fundamental to supporting economic growth. It also helps support the shift away from car use to sustainable transport, tackling climate change and improving air quality in the process. It is within this context that TransLink are taking forward the Lisburn Area Renewals project, and I will now pass over to Craig Jones of TransLink, who will provide more detail on that.
Lisburn Area Renewals is a significant project, and the key elements to the project are the upgrade to the signalling system, which is replacing key assets along the trackside, along with we are replacing switches and crossings which allow trains to traverse from one track to the other, and also within that is replacing rail, which will allow us to have a smoother ride and remove speed restrictions along the line. We're also, as part of the key works, putting a platform extension to platform 3, which will allow us to bring in longer trains, 6-car trains, to facilitate platform 3. This work is on our Lisburn area, which is Belfast to Portadown, and is a key area for our works. Our works comprise strategically at Lisburn Station, and that is where most of the core works are. But with the signalling system getting replaced, the extremities of the works outstretch to Lambeg Station and to Lissue Station, which is approximately 4 kilometres in total, but most of the work is centric to Lisburn Station, where the switches and crossings will be replaced, and the main core of the signalling system, along with the platform extension of platform 3. The key project facts, and I'll just pick a couple of them that you can see from the slide, is the upgrading of the signalling system, which is key. The platform extension of platform 3, as said, we will be able to put 6-car trains into platform 3, which is great for the timetabling of it. And we are installing 10 new switches and crossings onto the infrastructure as brand new.
Okay, thank you, Craig. And at this stage, I want to bring in Graham Curry from Babcock to discuss the construction side of the project in a bit more detail.
Hello, Graham Curry from Babcock, project manager. So the main compounds for the works are the 2 areas of focus. One is the predominant one is Benson Street car park, which holds our site offices and materials. And then we have a smaller compound at Lisburn Sidings that we use for essential plant and resources coming in. These are going to be used throughout the project until spring 2024. So works completed to date. So we began in November 2022 on site with a buffer stop introduction, which is stage 1. Stage 2 was a 54 line hour closure at the middle of January, which included taking out some S&C and 200 meters of track being relayed throughout. And then most recently, we've just completed the installation of a cantilever at the end of March. So going forward, the project is split over sort of 8 stages, which culminate in a Christmas blockade of an 8-day closure. In between that, we have some disruptive weekends in April, September, October as well. And we're due to complete the recoveries, etc., and be away from Lisburn from May 2024, with the majority of work complete by January 24. So we appreciate that railway works can be disruptive, so we're trying to utilize a number of blockades and closures over the weekends to get the majority of the work done. And also we have some works throughout the year at that time. On mitigation, largely is we have got access and egress in a Quieten area at Benson Street, and we try and keep the disruptives as the major noisy works.
Okay, thank you, Graham. And at this stage, I want to bring in Mark Glover from TransLink. One of the impacts of the works is obviously the line closures that have to be taken forward, and there's obviously a bus substitution service in place during those line closures. So bring in Mark Glover at this stage to give us some further information on that aspect.
Hi, thank you for this opportunity. Yes, this has led us to, obviously with a complete closure, led us to bring in our bus colleagues to assist us in the provision of services for our passengers during this planned closure. It led to us having to sit down and rejig timetables, etc., which again presented us the opportunity to get this work done. Our bus colleagues, our timetable has been obviously substituted by buses, and we're going to be operating over 300 services in both directions between Belfast and Portadown to cover this closure. And at this point, I would like just to reiterate that the passengers and our general public go online and visit our journey planner and plan their journey more precisely to facilitate any disruption caused to them during this closure.
So the working methodology that we use is we utilize local areas in the compound so that we can store materials and run the project from there, which is our project office as well. And we then will run out locally the materials, undertake the works, and then we will include physical works at each stage, so the preparation and then maybe the installation of the track or civils works. And we will be laying new sleepers, new track going down. You'll see some cable management and platform extension works as well. So at Babcock, we appreciate that the works can be noisy and impact our local neighbours, particularly those people who live close to the railway line. So what we try and do is use machinery that is quieter. We also try and operate within the disruptive possessions, but we appreciate there is some night noise. And at night, we encourage the teams to work quietly to access and egress onto the railway as quietly as possible. And we have mitigation in terms of noise reduction. We use quieter machines, so hopefully we impact you as little as we can do.
Thank you for that, Graham. And before we move on to addressing some questions, I just wanted to take the opportunity to outline some of the community engagement we are carrying out. We've issued several letters to individual properties in the vicinity of the works, initially about compound establishment and also before every stage of the project so far. Those stages were outlined by Graham earlier on. And we'll continue to do this throughout the project and throughout our programme of works. We've also briefed elected representatives for the area, and that's in the Lagan Valley constituency and also in the Lisburn and Castlereagh City Council. We recently held our first public event in the Bridge Community Centre in Lisburn, and this provided an opportunity for residents to call in and speak directly with the project team. Further events will be planned throughout the rest of this year. We've established a dedicated webpage at www.translink.co.uk/LAR, and this is being regularly updated as the project progresses. And we're making use of digital platforms such as social media and webinars such as this to regularly update and provide updates on the works. We've also set up a dedicated contractor control phone number, and this is to deal with any complaints or queries. And this number has been included in all communications to residents and will be available at the end of this PowerPoint as well. And further to that, as there are line closures and bus substitutions in place, as we heard from Mark, we will ensure that proactive media is taken forward. Information is placed in all key train stations and announcements on trains to ensure that passengers are well informed. So to sum up, we're making every effort to communicate the planned works, and we remain available to talk to anyone who gets in touch. So I now wanted to move on and deal with some questions which are regularly raised with us about the project. We've done a lot of engagement with residents and key stakeholders, and there are a number of questions that are always raised with the project team. And I think this gives us the opportunity to deal with some of those again. So the first one is really to reiterate the benefits of the project. And I wanted to bring Craig Jones in at this stage to really just outline what he feels those key benefits of the project are. Why are we doing this, and why is it necessary, and what will it deliver? So Craig, if you could come in on that point.
Yeah, this project is a major investment to the Lisburn area, and primarily is to replace outdated and dilapidated infrastructure. So we will basically allows us to ensure that faults are pretty much taken away and reduced on that side of things. We're putting together the platform extension on platform 3, which is critical to our growth and allowing 6-car trains to be in there, which will help with the timetable, with also the investment on the removal of sleepers and new ballast and rail and S&Cs. That allows us to increase line speeds and get rid of some temporary speed restrictions, and allows for a smoother journey for our passengers.
Okay, thanks, Craig. That's very helpful. And we heard from Mark Glover earlier, who outlined some information around the substitution service that would be in place and the number of services and the amount of work that's gone into that. And I'd just like to bring Mark back in and give Mark an opportunity just to reiterate some of the bus substitution information.
Yes, I'm thinking once again, I would really encourage your passengers to check online where possible, and to check with social media again where possible. I know it's not practical for some folk, but certainly where possible, if they could check for the latest information, which will be available on www.translink.co.uk, and just follow the link sent through to our journey planner. Or if they are in the station or any station, to speak with a member of staff who will obviously provide them with the information that they're asking. Again, just come back. It's a real comprehensive timetable that has been set up, with over 300 bus journeys planned to cover our actual timetable over this planned closure. It has been an immense task, but yes, really encourage our passengers to speak with the staff or go to the social media channels where the information will be available.
Okay, thanks very much for that, Mark. And it certainly seems that there's a number of places there where passengers can get further information, both online and in the station as well. So another aspect that's raised with us quite a lot is around how residents will be kept informed, how the local community will be kept informed, and also how they can get in touch with us. So I can deal with that, and really, I suppose it's going back to some of the areas in the community consultation slide. Our main way of getting updates out to residents is through sending letters out, which just gives those regular updates on how the works are progressing, and then also notifies residents in advance of particularly important stages of the work, such as happening this month through the month of April and later on throughout the year. So we will continue that process of writing out to residents, and we will also write out to residents to invite you to public events that we'll be holding in the local area as well. In terms of getting in touch with us, there is information online through the webpage that's displayed on the slide at the moment, and that is a good way to get information on this project. But if you need to speak to someone directly, then the contractor Babcock's control centre is the best way of doing that, and that number is displayed online. That is staffed 24/7, 7 days a week. That is available for anyone to ring with any queries, any complaints, and that's passed directly to the project team on the ground, and we will get back in touch with you if you ring that number. So if you need to speak to the project team, that remains the best way to do so, and that number will be available throughout this project. Really, lastly then, I just wanted to bring Graham Curry in again from Babcock around the mitigation measures. We got some good information from Graham earlier just around the types of mitigation measures that the contractor uses on projects such as this. So Graham, have you anything to add just around the importance of noise mitigation measures on the project?
So in conjunction with TransLink and the local council, we have got noise monitoring at Benson Street, so to impact or to manage the impact on local residents. So we monitor that 24/7. We also use, as I mentioned, those noise reduction blankets, which you will see wrapped around the site and around generators, etc., to stop noise. We use solar power for some of the lighting as well to not run generators at night. So that the site at nighttime doesn't use generators. So again, mitigate the noise. People coming in, we try to minimize the amount of people accessing at night, and we use plant that is as quiet as possible. So we use more modern machinery that's quieter. As we said, so the noisy works is kind of kept to a minimum, and if we can do it in daylight, or we do it during those disruptive weekends.
Okay, thanks for that, Graham, and thank you to all the panelists for your input during the presentation and during that short Q&A session there. I think at this stage we'll draw the webinar to a close, but before we do, I would again highlight that our project team remains available to deal with any queries that you may have if you contact us through the number on the screen now. Thank you very much.